Right, so we continue on our animal husbandry series. We have been looking at, chicken, like the birds, the broilers, the layers, the eggs, and all of that. We've tried to do justice to that. But this time around, we move on to the larger animals, right? Okay, so what's there to, I don't want to say talk about.
Okay.
Because there's everything to talk about.
Yeah, so basically, the larger animals, in my view as a farmer, I raise them, or I see them as those animals that are a bit bigger and that we raise on the farm for most times either purpose of meat or milk, as the case may be.
Yeah.
So there are some of them that look very fearful when you look at them, especially animals like pigs, animals like cows, and the rest of them. Managing them and keeping them is a total different level entirely.
Yeah.
They have their own side to eat to the business. They occupy more space than the normal ones that they do. So basically, that's what an average, in my own layman's farmer's view, what the large animals are. So the animals are a bit bulky and occupy more space than the regular ones. Like chicken, you can put 100 chicken here now, there will be peace.
Yeah.
But in this size of the studio, you may not be able to put more than 2 pigs, for instance. Matured pigs, they will need more space. And then their consumption level and all of that. But of course, that's why we have Dr. Peter in the studio today. They doctors always have their own perspective to explain these things.
Doctor, what are some of the basic things that one needs to put into consideration before starting to keep larger animals? We've talked about the birds, but these ones are larger, like he called. There are a lot of complications, like you were saying, pigs. Pigs are forbidden in some circles, like some religious beliefs do not believe, So these are some of the things that you also have to factor in, right? So what are some of the basic things to start with?
Thank you very much for the question. For one who is wanting to go into the business, of course, you have to do feasibility studies. So you need a whole lot of land, because the key to large animal practice or farming, it's having the pasture, the green grass. That's the key. You find a farmer who has green grass, who has pasture for the animals to feed, that farmer is going to be dealing with less issues in the future. Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. So that means obviously a lot of money.
Yes, the capital for raising
it's a lot of money. One cattle is going for about $1 million or more, even
at maturity
right now.
Wow.
Yes,
and you find people having, you can have one farmer having 150 cattle, 250, 500 cattle. That's a lot of money. If you put that into naira, it's a lot of money.
Yeah. So especially with the cattle, let me begin to focus on that. We see this practice of nomadic, or the nomads moving from one place. And most of the time when you keep that, I've been to a farm in Jos. I think that was Diary something. I went to see,
in Vom.
Yes, in Vom. Yes, I went to.
Good guys. They're
Yes.
doing a lot.
I saw some, what do you call them, cows that are from Brazil and all of that. They were looking very robust, big, and when you compare them with the kind of cows that you see around in Nigeria, it's nothing to write about. So this practice of nomads moving up and down, does it do anything to hamper the productivity or the health in terms of, keeping this?
Of course. And, this question is so key, because for us as a company, my office, this is our major challenge. Africans believe, let me just narrate, Nigerians, they believe you don't have to put so much to feed a cattle. Just put him on the grass, fresh grass, dry grass, irrespective of the weather season we have. Just put it on grass. They believe they can get so much from there, but it's not possible, because imagine I eat bread all the rest of my life. How am I going to be looking? I'm definitely going to look poor than the guy who is eating balanced diets. So it's very important. This is the mentality we want to change. Because we appreciate the business, how big it is, the cattle business. Even the federal government, have seen efforts of them trying to invest money in especially in the dairy sector. Thank God to the likes of Dano, Farm Fresh, these big dairy farms, And we're looking for more to come, because we can't, this is a country of about over 200 million people.
Yeah.
We don't produce enough milk, and we know how vital milk is. So we understand the business, and we want people to shift from the mindset of grass only to feeding the animal with balanced diet. Like the poultry farmers, they understand it very well. They understand it very well. You can bring all the raw materials to make a poultry feed. But if you don't bring a premise, for instance, the guy who brings in the minerals, the vitamin, the trace element, all these things that make sure the chemistry of the body will working very fine. That's what the premise do.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, and I know that there are also byproducts when it comes to, like you were saying, the dairy, the beef,
hides and
then
skin.
hides and
Hides and
skin,
skin,
and,
wool, even.
As a matter of fact, that's another industry that has actually, do I say, is going into extinction. In Kano those days, we used to have a facility where you collect the skin and move them to the facility, they process it down to the final product where they make handbags for ladies and shoes and all of that. But what we've seen now is that some of these byproducts are taken and prepared for export. They export it, and then by the time it goes out to, if it's Italy or anywhere they're selling it to, they go prepare them, fix them in a way, and then send it back as a final finished product for us. So those are also opportunities, areas that have actually not been explored at all. And then some of the skin also end up, majority, especially for the cattle, I know, they end up as pomo basically. So most of them end up as pomo for the skin, for cattle especially, and even goats these days, because we have goats, pomo too, and the rest of them. So, but the reality is that if we can harness and people can take advantage of such kind of subsector, if you are going to engage in the large animals, you can plug into any of the value chain. Not necessarily going to say, okay, I'm keeping 1,000 cattle somewhere, I'm keeping 200 pigs somewhere. You can plug into any of the value chain and also generate wealth in between. So you don't have to be the one to buy the cow, raise them, and do everything, because really, like you mentioned earlier, it's really capital intensive. I personally have other large animals on my farm, but I've really been scared of cattle, for instance, because if you calculate the average feed they will need per day and the water they will take in per day, it's quite a lot. And that's why it's been difficult for the regular herders we have in Nigeria to keep these animals at a spot, because they believe that they can leverage on free water, for instance, free feed in other location.
All right, we'll take a break and then we're back before you know it. Stay with us. All right, apologies to you, our dear caller. Thank you for waiting. What's your name? Oh, okay, Comrade Haruna. Go ahead.
I just have a question to ask about the vaccination for broilers. I've seen some people, the usual, if they don't mind, call the names. Can I call their names?
Come again.
I'm just trying to repeat my question to the doctor about vaccination.
Okay.
Yes, some people skip the normal Lasota Bomboro vaccination being given to them for the first 4 weeks. And at the end of the day, they need a better result. So some don't believe that the vaccination at times is not effective on the bird. It's just like the chances of the vaccine being active for the bird less than 5%, less than 50%. So some will just keep it. At the end of the day, they have lesser mortality and they get a better result. So I want you to enlighten farmers on the effect of the vaccination. If you skip them, what are the signs farmers can feel in effect? And like that. That is my question. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. All right, I hope you got that.
Yeah, I got it. Can I go ahead?
Let me take this one, then you now combine the two. Hello.
Hello, good afternoon to us.
And I'm just in the studio.
Afternoon.
Welcome.
Good afternoon.
Okay, my name is Chris. I'm calling from this company now.
All right.
Yeah, the doctor, please, I am having a problem with my vet, particularly the comment of it. Like on Friday, I go to but I made a booking for 2 cartons of 36 pieces each. That carton. And this one is costing me almost 7,000 naira. Just put comment of it. Now, the problem I've been having, is that when I brood, after 7 weeks, their weight begins to fall. And you saw that their legs, some of them will be having their legs will be twisted, some will be having K legs due to the excessive weight that is coming rapidly. Now, they will tell us to use bone meal. I'm always buying bone meal, and I don't tell to mix it with their food and then a multivitamin. And yet, I will be having this issue of legs. Their legs on will cripple, and I'm losing so much money. Is there any alternative? And what I ask for the second time is from the hatchery. That the message is from the hatchery. What can I do because I'm losing so much money on my current topic?
All right. Thank you, Chris. Before you answer the question, we have trending news. It's just 2 minutes. We'll take that and then we'll come right back so that the questions will be answered as we round up on the show. Stay with us. Discussion. Madadi, do we have points?
Yes. So most of the headers we have, or the practice that we've seen over the time, are people who are leveraging on free water, free feed, free food, and all of that, which over time has actually been has been connected to certain crimes that has been happening in certain rural communities, where people move their animals to go and feed on other people's plants. That is something that has to be addressed, which to an extent, the government and even private people are now accepting it, that it's safer to actually have a ranch and keep these animals and maintain and manage them properly. So moving them about, one of the things we understand too from experts is that for those ones that are using for meat, they're actually burning a lot of nutrients while they move around. So the meat becomes very hard, and that's why when you travel out of Nigeria and you eat beef, you are wondering, is this beef I'm eating or is beef fat? So the difference is actually is much in terms of quality of the meat, the taste. Sometimes you buy meat and then the meat will spend you can use a whole day boiling the meat and it's so hard and all of that. So personally, I think those practice is something that we really need to switch to a more modern practice. And we've seen it too. A lot of people, even within FCT here, we see a lot of rural community embracing this. If you move to some of these rural villages, you find out that some people are keeping 5, they are keeping 3, and they make sure they don't go anywhere. They feed them there until they are ready for meat or for if they are going to breed. But most times, what we've seen in the FCT, they do keep them mostly for meat. So they can feed them, do a lot of fattening on them, and then they sell.
Yeah.
That practice has to be strengthened. Government has to actually encourage people to continue in that regard, so that we can strengthen production and have healthier meat and beef in the market.
Yeah.
So that movement is something that also is going to take us a lot of time, but it's something that other countries have also been through.
Yeah.
Like a country like Morocco, they've had similar issue. Till date, Morocco is also still dealing with issue of farmer-header clash, because some of the farmers, nomadic headers, always prefer to move from one segment of the country. They basically follow weather and anywhere there is food and water for them. So that is something that we can improve on as a country, and then we can strengthen the system. And of course, like it is, you mentioned that there are other animals that are accepted or more popular in certain regions. For instance, if you go down south, you find out that pigs are more accepted in terms of even consumption. Beef are also consumed there, but the degree at which it's being consumed compared to pork, there are certain cultures that they relate their cultural activity around it. Even just here in Benue, there are people that their marriages are connected to pork. You have to bring dowry. It's part of the dowry requirement and all of that. If you're having burial, people put these things in it. So irrespective of wherever they are growing it, we also need to understand that other segment or part of the country may not be too open to animals moving around from north to south to southwest or to the and the risks even those people go through is quite a lot. And then you see some of them are only all alone in the bush. They're in the middle of nowhere. They meet people. They are attacked. The animals are taken away from them in some cases, and these are very practical things. So, if people who are considering investment in that area, they should consider how they can start maybe from a little space, expand it gradually, and keep them in a space as against moving it. And then sadly, most of these animals that we see that are still having this nomadic method are owned by people who are well educated, well exposed, wealthy. But just like he talked about the mindset and mentality, people believe that these animals can get everything they need in the forest, or they move around in the bush, they can eat the grass and be normal. But there is still more to eat. There's a lot of difference in technology, improvement in their feed and nutrients. People have done a lot of research work to improve the quality of both either is meat or the skin. People are doing so much, and we need to upgrade as soon as we can as a country too.
Okay, so what are some of the best practices when it comes to keeping or rearing these large animals?
Well, like you said, best practice is to do ranching.
Ranching.
Have a place where you keep them and provide for them. You get more that way. Although we as a people we believe because you don't spend money buying this grass that they feed on when they move from one place to another, you feel it's cheaper to raise them that way. Why do I have to put my money when they can eat grass? This has been working for us for some time, but it takes a whole longer time for you to get a result. One of the value chain in large animal farming is feedlotting. Feedlotting is you get a cow, either a young cow or a sick one, or maybe a cow that's not well fed. You get it cheap, and then you take care of the health and then feed it very well. In Nigeria, it takes with those guys who do that business. It takes them about 3 months to feed the animal to a size where they will be able to sell it. But what we have been doing with farmers, once we bring these products and get this guy to meal for them, to meal for these animals, they can achieve that weight, that size, less than 3 months, 2 months even.
Okay.
They can achieve it. So that shows that what you can achieve in 3-4 months, because you don't want to spend, you can get if you put the right investment in a very shorter time, and you get to turn over your resources and you make so much more after. So the best way to keep large animals is actually to do ranching. We don't have so much cows, so much cattle in Nigeria. I don't know why we're having so much issues. Although I know it's a very broad issue, even the government has to come in on this.
Definitely.
I'm not a politician, but it's just the right way to go. It's just the right way to go. Statistics in 2021 show that we had just over 18 million cattle in Nigeria.
Okay.
So if you look at it, it's not much compared to the landmass we have.
Interesting. Okay, so there are other animals too, like goats, like
sheep.
Like sheep, yes.
Yeah.
I don't know. These rabbits, are they large animals or they're small animals?
No, they're small animals.
They are small. They're small. Yes.
Right? Okay.
Those ones are the sheep, goats all fall into that. There are goats that even look. There are some rams I've seen, some breeds that are as big as cat, big
yes,
cow.
And there are some breed of cattle that are as small as goats.
And as small as goats. Yes.
Wow.
So they are on the average, if any animal that hits above 50 kg body weight, I think is considered as a large animal.
Yes.
50 kg.
Yes, and above.
But it's not all of them that are up to 50 kg.
No, most of them.
Like that 50 kg now, you can be talking about sheep and goats.
Sheep and goats.
Maybe pigs.
Pigs.
Although pig made way more than that. An adult pig.
Pigs can hit 450 kg.
So.
Or 500.
Okay. All right. So that's interesting. We're talking about the let's talk about the profitability of that. I mean, you've talked about the best practice, which is way more profitable than what we see as the normal, practice where people are trying to avoid that route. And then it takes them longer and they don't know. When you talk to them, they feel okay. It all becomes very political. I mean, I remember in the last administration, that was a big issue. It was so political. Should we do ranching? Should we not? And all of that. But we know ranching is. So what are some of the profits, that one can make? How do you capitalize on this business to ensure that you hit it big?
Okay, so like I mentioned earlier, it is expensive to run large animals. Whether you're doing goats or you're doing pigs or you're doing cattle generally. So it's a profitable venture if the right things are done. I personally, I'm speaking from personal experience. There was a time I had that same mentality of relying on just grass and anything available to feed some of the animals I keep. And then I realized that I end up spending more but not getting the output. So the implication of it is that if the nutrient of that animal is not in place, you are likely going to keep that animal for a longer time. So the best way to profit, yes, to issues to deal with in between.
Yeah.
So the best way to make profit in the business is to, one, ensure that nutrition is right, you are doing the right practice, profit is guaranteed. So whether it's goat, whether it's piggery or any segment, if the animal is getting the needed nutrient on a day-to-day basis, you are likely going to sell off that animal at a more better time that you maximize profit. The more you keep the animal, before the animal will generate that body weight, because most times for those animals it's either for meat or you are doing regular breeding activity or you are keeping them to maybe certain period for investment. So in terms of profit on the average, let's look at, for pigs, for instance. If you're having a mature sow that you keep with you for a certain number of time, let's say for 6 months, and you feed her very well, you feed the animal very well, you are likely going to get very good number of piglets that will mean a lot of money to you beyond your expectation. But if you keep the same animal and not do the right thing, you are likely not going to make profit. The animal can be with you. Yes, nutrition, yes. So you can keep the animal for a very long time and then you are not going to make profit.
I know that pigs really reproduce
Very
fast.
prolific.
Very well. If you have a
prolific.
good breed, you can get as high as 10 piglets per cycle.
Very
Some can
prolific.
do 20, some can do 15. So depending on what breed, your source of breeding,
Yes.
and then the breeding program, then of course the nutrition conversation we're also having.
Yes.
If the nutrition is not right, the pig breed may be good, but you may not make good profit out of it. Why? Because maybe you are only relying on the, let's say, alefu, or maybe any grass
rubbish.
around to feed, any rubbish to feed the
Yeah.
animals. Because
They say
another
pig eat
mindset,
everything.
yes,
Yeah, that's
people
what they say.
people tell you, pigs can eat anything,
But it's
or they
not
tell you
true?
cattle,
Is that not
goats.
true?
Pigs can
Pigs
eat
can eat
variety of
something.
things. Okay, they can be herbivore. They can even sometimes scramble on even meat. And all these things. Anything they can find, they swallow. They can eat a wide range of stuff. But these things that we believe pigs eat, they are usually waste and there are little nutrients to it, little or nothing to it. And so, if I have to eat a small ration of food, for instance, that is well balanced, to get, let's say, 6,000 kilocalories of energy, the one who is going to eat bread is going to eat a whole lot of bread to get that energy that I'm getting from just a small scoop of food, balanced food. So that is the thing. And then the farmers don't even get to access to this large quantity of this rubbish to give to the animal. So in the end of the day, the animal is suffering from nutritional deficiencies, a lot of nutrients lacking, and then he's buying a lot of drugs, he's buying a lot of
To
things
stabilize
to
that.
treat, to do this, to do that. Meanwhile, his problem is just poor nutrition. You bring in good nutrition and then you solve your problems.
So they also have feeds like the
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
The way we formulate for poultry is
Yeah.
the same way we formulate for
For
For large animals,
Okay.
Ev-
For
including
all
the
the animals,
cattle, donkeys, what do you call them? The ones we use for horses, for polo.
all of
In
them.
fact, those ones are even more
All of
expensive
them.
to maintain.
Oh,
Yeah.
of course. All right. So what about the medication for the animals?
Yes, like every other living thing, they do fall sick, once in a while, and then you have to treat. Majorly, their problem would be worm infestation. Worm has the life cycle of hermits, that's worms. It has to do with grasses.
Okay.
And these guys are always eating grass, so they always pick it. They're picking the worms or picking the larvae of the worms, So that's a major challenge, but it's a simple thing to deal with. You just put in the dewormer, whether orally or by injection, and you take care of it. And then for bacterial infection, yes, they do sometimes, even viral. You must have heard the news of highly pathogenic avian influenza now in the US attacking infecting cattle.
Cattle.
Yeah, infecting cattle.
Yeah.
And even the federal government in the US have to come into the matter, put in some policies to prevent it. So these guys also, this farm you visited, they are in charge of production of local vaccines we use for large animals, a whole lot of them to prevent these diseases. So it's also good, as we bring in good nutrition, vaccine is there to prevent possible challenges before you begin to tackle them. The vaccine takes care of them, and these vaccines are very affordable. Wow. So we just want people to do the right thing, do it well, and then they see the result after.
Okay, interesting. If you want to be a part of the conversation, you can join now. If you have questions with regards to large animals, or you have comments to make, unique areas of clarification, please feel free to dial the numbers 0700951000 and then 08095974869 and also 08099930137. Okay, yes, so as we wait the calls, let me also check if we have messages. Okay, somebody is calling on the WhatsApp call. Hello?
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Hello? Network issues. Please call me back. Hello, good afternoon.
Hello, good afternoon, Stuart.
You're welcome. Welcome. Yes, loud and clear. I can hear you.
Well done, Stuart. You're doing a great job. My name is Chukwuma, my colleague from Gariki.
Okay.
I want to find out something more. Can you just tell me something about the goats? If somebody wants to wear goats, I enjoy goat meat a lot, and it's getting expensive to get the kilos now. I'm thinking of just putting some aside at the 500 to wear for consumption. How many can goat breed? I mean, if the goat wants to give birth, what's the maximum number you can give at a particular time? And then the food for goats, do we have to do a special thing other than the usual? Please, if they can just comment on those, I'm interested.
All right, thank you so much. You and I on
First of all, you also need to know that
I like goats a lot. So I like goat meat. In fact, practically I stopped buying beef. It's just goat strictly. I like. Hello.
Okay.
Hello. Okay, I don't know what's happening. Hello. Hello. Okay, this guy's been trying and his network is not allowing him. Hello.
Hello. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
The disease called malaria. I don't know.
What do you call it?
Malaria.
Yeah, it's malaria.
Malaria. Okay, he would attend to that. The doctor in the house would answer your question. Let's see. All right. Nice job, Swat. I greet you and your guests. I have a goat farm. Any suggestion on how to make them grow bigger and faster? I have for sale. Frank from Muse. Okay, that's good. And this one said, okay, this is not for me. All right. Anyway, let's respond to some of them before we take more.
So the first person who said he wants to start a goat farm.
Yes.
First thing he needs to know, goats are usually stubborn. That's one thing I discovered with goats. They are stubborn. Mm-hmm. They want to go where you don't ask them to go. And they are animals that don't want to be caged. So if you're making any system where you are keeping them, the space has to give them some liberty to feel that they are free. Mm. More like you can use a mesh wire, something that give them impression that they are still free, but in real sense they are not free. If you make a fence, they are likely going to scale that fence over time. They're going to find their way. So you must go extra mile to protect them, because I know that within the FCT City Center, he says in Garki, there's a law preventing livestock moving around. Environmental will actually pick them up. Mm. So that's something he needs to know. And of course, in terms of the breed, I think doctor can advise him on what to go for.
Okay.
And then the other person who mentioned about the size, how to make them grow, I think it boils down to the breed and what type. There are predominantly the goats that are from the northern part of the country are usually bigger in size. The ones that are from the south and other parts look dwarf, yes, size. So those are things you need to consider too. So if a goat
Do they
is
have a name? Do they have varieties? Okay, maybe doctor, you tell
Pigs?
us about that. No, the goats.
Goats, yeah, of course, there are breeds of goats.
Okay, so you tell us about that in the process of talking. Okay, go ahead.
There are breeds of goats. And what the second question is the one I remember more. Palaria.
Palaria.
Okay.
breed.
Yeah, the right name would be Alaria.
Alaria.
Yeah, Alaria
not
alata. And it's not a disease I've seen here, but it's something that has been reported in Europe.
Ah,
Yes,
okay.
yes, I've not seen it here. Majorly, our major problem has always been African swine.
African swine.
Yeah, for pigs.
For pigs, yeah.
For pigs,
Oh.
African swine fever.
Okay.
Last
But is there
year,
any,
And we heard there's a vaccine that will soon be coming in, I think in June or so, that is to soon hit Nigeria for trial. So that could be something that can help for African swine fever. But for now, there is no vaccine yet available.
but
It's
there was
basically
this-
to
yes,
manage
not treatment, not
and
treatment.
there was
hygiene
one
that
recently,
prevents it.
was not last year when we started this in December when we were looking at meat processing. There was one disease that time that was I can't remember the
It was actually on chicken then. It
Okay,
was
it
on
was
chicken.
chicken?
Yeah, it was on chicken.
Oh,
it was
okay.
still avian influenza that was out. There was an outbreak in Kaduna and the other
No, but
states.
there was one that was
Late
in
last
Ghana, and they were warning that it might just come in. I think it was
into
a big. Anyway, that's not the issue. Doctor, continue, please.
Yeah, the second question.
He was talking about he wants to keep goats. He wants to know
what
their-
breed and
what breed, their production rates, everything.
Okay. There are different types of goats, breeds of goat, of course. There's this very short one they call West African dwarf, which is I think the ones we like a lot in the south. You know, it's very good and it's very resistant to a lot of diseases. Very strong, very agile. And then there are some goats we keep for milk and for meat. So it depends on the one for meat. If it's for meat, of course.
Names. Not so sure right now.
Yes, they have names, but I'm not so sure. Maybe next time on the show I would
Okay.
recommend the names for him.
And also important to mention that there are certain breeds, our local breeds are actually doing well. I've seen a few farmers who have brought in the popular Kalahari goats from South Africa into Nigeria. As there's a few breeders that are doing stuff to see how they can domesticate it here in Nigeria. But right now, predominantly the local breeds we have, there are also breeds that he can explore why some of those things become more commercially available. But I know one or two breeders that are doing stuff, even in the FCT here with the Kalahari breed, and is more dominant with South Africa. And they've tried to breed them with our local ones and see what they can come out. But most of them are still at that point where they are doing research work.
Okay. Hello.
Hello.
Good afternoon.
Hello. Good afternoon.
You're welcome.
My name is Solomon Language from Managana.
All right. Go ahead.
I just thought to appreciate you for the good work you're doing.
Thank you.
Yes. And God bless you.
God bless you too. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
appreciating us. All right, Victor OJ from Buari said, "Good afternoon, Miss Swat, and greetings to our guests. My dog gave birth to 7 puppies. 3 died 2 days after birth, while 2 died again after 3 months. What should I be responsible for these deaths?" That's one question. Then I also have this one that said, "Good afternoon, Swat, and the guests in the studio. I want to know how to manufacture chicken food feeds and also how to go about cattle feed if I want to go into ranching." I'm CJ from Airport Road. Okay, so those are the 2 issues. OJ is worried about his dogs dying and what he should do about that.
Okay.
Yeah, we can talk about dogs because dogs are also being bred by
They are very
people, so,
large animals.
Yes, they're large animals and they're also very profitable.
And Or by some people.
Yes.
Very, very
It's
considerate.
not possible I tell CJ what to. Is it CJ?
Yes, CJ.
It's not possible I tell him what could be the problem with his puppies or why they are dying because I'm not seeing them. I don't think there's no doctor. There's a doctor who can.
Take off your hands. It's making a lot of noise.
Okay.
Sorry.
I don't know if there's a doctor who can consult, prescribe, diagnose, and then treat without seeing the patient.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's
You know,
right.
so I would recommend he contacts his
Different.
vet. As a dog owner, you should have a vet that you're working with who will look at the situation more closely and then provide solutions.
When dogs give birth, is there any compulsory vaccination that should be given to those dogs?
Yes, there is. When they are 5 weeks or when they are 7 weeks, you start, depending on the schedule you are using. And then when they are 3 months, you do anti-rabies.
Okay.
Yeah, those are the two major ones we do for
Okay.
dogs. Yeah.
All right. Interesting. See, a veterinary, because he can't from here diagnose and tell you basically what is wrong and what's making them die. So it's best you contact a vet around you and get to know what exactly is causing that death of your dogs. Sorry about that. Oh, please ask the doctor, is there anything like medication which could induce goat birth? Frank from Muse.
Yes. When a pregnant goat has reached 10 and she's not going into labor, you can induce it, of course. There are injections that we use.
How long ordinarily do goats carry their babies?
I think that is about 168 days.
160
Yeah.
days. Okay.
And for pigs, it's 3 months, 3 days. 3 weeks, 3 days.
Three months,
Those
3
ones,
weeks, 3
they are
days.
just annoying. They just give it back.
No, they are lovely animals, by the way.
No, I know. I'm just saying, right? Because I mean,
They have sexy eyes.
I don't do.
You can check it
So what
online.
for you?
Because they bring good money.
Oh yes, I know.
Somebody was asking about how you can start ranching or something.
Yes. Let me see. What was that thing about wanting to start? Okay. Yeah, CJ said he wants to go how he can manufacture chicken feeds and also cattle feed because he wants to go into ranching.
I'm an expert in that one.
You are an expert in that. Okay.
I don't know how I'm going to contact CJ now.
Okay. So maybe you give me your number and then I'll post it to CJ so he can come and get consultation, pay some fees because that cannot be free, definitely. So Dr. Peter is here for you, CJ, in case you need his contacts. Let me know so that before you go, I'll give you and you guys can talk about that. All right, 0700 951 0000 and 08095974869. 08099930137. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I want to talk more about the dogs now. Dogs may not necessarily be something that people consume a lot around here, but in so many parts of the country, from the south to even some northern parts of the country, all around people eat these dogs. But we see people producing different breeds of dogs, from the Mastiff to the German Shepherd and all of that. And they sell it. So what would you say to someone who wants to start that as a sort of business? Because they're also animals.
Well, I don't think anybody would want to start a puppy mill. That's the name, puppy mill or
Puppy mill.
a dog farm because you want to produce dog for people to eat. When you talk about dog, you talk about a security in your house or a security in any of your property.
Yes.
That's the reason we keep dogs here. And for those who even eat dog meat, they don't like exotic. They don't like meat from exotic dogs.
Kind
Yeah,
of breeds
they
that
like
go for.
they like the local
There's a difference in
original breed
taste.
because the difference is the taste. So for anybody like that is first, in everything you want to do, first is to look at why you want to do it.
Yes.
Yeah, and then you can know how to get a headway after.
Interesting.
I want to add something. This thing he just said, when you move to other segment, I don't want to call names, but even from the FCT here, I know communities where they keep a lot of dogs. It's not security that is the main thing. It's for consumption. So
For
people
meat,
are doing it.
Dog meat. Like
Really?
some
Yes. Here in Jos, they keep them very large numbers.
Okay.
So I'm
sorry,
sure
that called in
some people can argue that.
All right. I mean, that's why I said, like, You'll be shocked when you go to some communities, some parts of the country, and you
I don't want to call names. Even
Because
close in the
dogs are
FCT
very
here.
expensive. Like
I don't want us to go to
you buy
Jos.
a German Shepherd for it could be up to 200,000 or 250,
Yeah, or more.
depending on the quality, the breed.
Yes.
And you just want to go and slaughter that thing to eat.
No. I don't think people
They,
consider
no, they won't slaughter
Those
that. But you see
breeds,
that bingo,
they're not endangered.
Yes.
It is the local ones.
the popular
That we
bingo.
don't know the names. Someone say it's a 1995 model.
You know, when I was in school during clinical conferences, even our lecturers get to argue about this. What's the name
What's
of our
the-
dog?
We just call
Some
them
call
local
it
dogs.
local breed, some
Hello?
call it local indigenous.
Hi, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon to the guests.
Oh, please just hold on. Staying here, we're back and we'll be responding to some of the questions that have been put across. We also have this one that said, I hope you guys wrote it down. Good afternoon, Swat, and the guest. Swat, don't.
The first one is
Okay.
Vaccination.
and the
Okay.
other one is
You guys are discussing vaccination.
Okay.
All right, let's start. Then I'll read this message. Though.
The other person mentioned about vaccination. There are other farmers not using vaccination, and the birds seem to be doing well. And those of us who are doing that, the impact of the vaccination is not much on the animal. So he needed you to clarify the benefit of the vaccination.
the first guy.
Just go on to that.
Okay, thank you very much.
You are the first guy.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
For if you're a poultry farmer, whether you're doing the boiler or the layer, please, I will not advise you to skip your vaccine. Vaccines, I've never seen anywhere vaccine would hamper the results you get from your birds. It will not do that. Vaccine is there to prevent your birds from coming down with certain diseases if they are challenged with it. Please, it's not good to skip it. It's not good to skip it because the results after can be colossal. Please don't skip it. I don't want to believe your whoever told you that skipped his vaccine and that's why I got good results. There may be other things to it, definitely other things to it. So please do your vaccination as at when due.
It's that simple.
It's that simple.
And then the other person talks about the calcium issue with his turkey. They come after 7 weeks. They are
Then
have an
the
issue.
turkey guy, you know, if you're keeping furry turkeys, you know they're going to accumulate a lot of weight, you know, after. So of course the bone is supposed to be developed to carry the body's weight. So while you're feeding them, you're supposed to be putting these precautions, you know. I for one, I don't know how efficacious the bone meal is because of how it's produced. You know, it's just bones that they gather together, they get them burnt, you know, and then after that's bone meal. You know,
calcium is calcium.
that's calcium. So the calcium may have been lost in the fire, you know, and all those things. So I would recommend you use a more synthetic product, you know, from all these vet pharmacy you can get from them, you know, calcium preparation and use for them.
Yeah.
I use for them, and then try to do this all the time instead of waiting to get the situation before you know they are going to gather the weight anyway. So do something about it before.
And also, I think is generally for turkey, there is usually you need to have a plan on when you're slaughtering them. So the practice we've seen here is that sometimes they let the turkey stay for a very long time. They are not animals because of their weight. You should have a plan where you are sending them off to the market, and so that they don't need to get to up to 25 kg, 30 kg before you are selling. If you can find markets where you can sell them, it's a good one to sell them early than struggling to stabilize them. But of course, the calcium has to be, because I made that mistake at some point. You have to administer that calcium early, not when you notice the problem.
Okay.
Most farmers, what they do is that they wait until the animal is big and is unable to stand up to even feed themselves. Then they start introducing that. At that point, sometimes the effect is a bit low and they are unable to gain that calcium level that will now hold their strength once.
Okay.
And so they have to build it over time.
I think that was the last
Question,
that
yes,
the guy
yes.
asked, right?
And again, it's good to like, you know, even the white people now they are advocating for free range for even for poultry, even for birds. You know, like keeping them in one place, standing all the rest of their life, it's even problem for them. Okay. Now for turkey, it's even more important to do free range. I don't know how this guy is keeping his turkey, but if he allows them to, go
Get
around,
some shade,
get some
get sun once in a while.
exercise the bones, how it is. It will make the bone even stronger.
Okay. I think we've done justice to this very topic today. We'll come back again next week, Wednesday, with more within the series we're carrying on. Sure, there will be a whole lot of other areas we'll talk. Good afternoon, Swat, and the guests. So I don't go there. Dog meat garnished with enough pepper and sent is always the best. You need to try it to confirm.
Did you hear that?
Thank you. I will pass. Not me and dog. I love dogs too much. You want to eat that thing.
Personally, I can't eat dogs too.
I really can't.
I grew up in an environment where they are very popular.
I eat dogs, but I can't eat a dog I know.
A co-productor. All right, thank you, Dr. Peter, for coming over. Thank
So
you.
eat a random bird. Thank you so much for having
You
us.
guys are really grateful for coming and helping people to, get enlightened and know more about these practices because it's really very important at a time like this. We adjourn till next week, Wednesday.
Thank you.
All right.
See you next
Thank you.
week.
God bless you.